Hello guys, my name is Michael and it is time to move on, and it's time for us today to learn a new widget. As you can see, we have again just a default program here where we are just only creating a window, nothing special, no CSS, nothing, just a window. Okay, so let's see. Today we are going to talk about a new widget, like I said, and the new widget which we are going to talk, it is GTK-SpinButton. Before we proceed with the GTK-SpinButton, let's take a look of its object hierarchy. And says, as you can see, there's this button is a subclass of GTK entry, GTK widget, and so on. So this means basically we can use entries properties, or some of them, and some of GTK widgets properties too, and so on. But you already know that. If you follow my other tutorials, we have properties here and styles. We have also signals here which we can apply to this widget, and of course there are the functions, which are quite a lot of them, but we are going through all of them or most of them, I don't know, we'll see what's important and how we should concentrate us on this widget, and basically how those functions are applied and what exactly they do, and so on. Let me show you a demo. This is you already know the intro adjustment spin button. I made some changes to this demo which we had. So as you remember, we had the adjustment, which basically we can, let's say, add some values, and base it on these values which we add them here, the spin button updates and we can use it. So now, for example, the values which we have them here is not important for you now, because we are not going to talk about adjustment anymore. We already know what adjustment are, but I want to show you something. Once that we set values and we have them with the help of this GTK-SpinButton, then you can make some changes in your application. For example, I choose to rotate a message by using this widget. So that being said, that this thing happens like this. Watch when I'm pressing the plus button, and watch what happens when I press the minus button back. You see, the text is rotating. So basically this is what does our widget at this moment. We are rotating this label, this text, which is a label. So this is what, or this is something which you can do, or where this kind of widget is needed, when you set a value, and then after you set the value, base it on that value, you can make some changes, like me, for example, changing this text or rotating it. So this is about what means spin button, setting a value and then apply it when it's set to something which it's useful for us. So that being said, let's start. I just choose some functions here. The first function which we are going to use them, the first one is GTK-SpinButton new with range, because there are a lot of them. There are also those with adjustment. We are not going to talk about those now, later. we are going to talk, because we are going to take the short way and then we are going to take the long way, which is based on creating a spin button based on an adjustment. Okay, so that being said, the first one is GTK spin button new with range, which is this one, and says it is a function which takes 3 parameters and returns a widget. This is a convenient constructor that allows creation of a numeric GTK spin button without manually creating an adjustment. So this is something like a faster way of creating this button. The value is initially set to the minimum value, and the page increment, it is set of 10 10 step is the default one. So basically multiplied by step is the default one. The precision of the spin button is equivalent to the precision of the step. Note that the way in which the precision is delivered works best if step is a power of 10. If the resulting precision is not suitable for your needs, use GTK spin button set digit to correct it. So we will see what's that. So let's call this function. For this we need to create a button, GTK widget spin button. Now we can point this pointer to our function, which takes 3 parameters. The first one is the minimal, the second the maximal, and then is the step. So let's say 0, 10 and the step of 1. What this means, let's see. Okay, we are setting, but we are not use it. Okay, GTK container add GTK container, so we are adding our spin button inside our window. Okay, now let's format it, compile it and run it. And as you can see, of course it is a little bit crazy, but it works fine, as you can see. Setting a size, maybe GTK widget set size request, which is our spin button, having a size of 150 maybe. It takes no benefit of it. So this means G object set. So we are going to set to this spin button the margin property, with, I don't know, let's say 50. We are marking our spin button. Let's see. It looks better. Oh, of course you can find a better way, but me, I'm not going to search another way because I need a fast way just to work with this button. So basically we have this. So this is our button which we are creating. So this is basically the first thing which you can do after you create your button with a new range. You set those ranges, and now it's better, and those ranges are set to 0 for lower and 10 for upper. You see, I cannot update anymore because I set 10, and of course I cannot go down anymore. I set to 0. So no matter which, if you set now here 100, this means I can go up to 100 every one number, and so on. Okay, so that being said, this is what the GTK-SpinButton new range does. Now let's move up to the next function, which is the GTK-SpinButton SetRange. Let's see about this function. And this function says, where is it? SetRange says it is a function which takes 3 parameters and returns a void. Sets the minimum and the maximum allowable value for the spin button. If the current value is inside this range, it will be adjusted to fit within the range, otherwise will remain unchanged. Sorry. So let's see. Let's put here 0, which basically our button, we cannot use it, but I want to show you what happens if you change that with GTK-SpinButton SetRange, which says takes 3 parameters. So the first one is the GTK-SpinButton. As you can see, also here says we need to cast it to GTK-SpinButton because it needs a GTK-SpinButton and not a GTK widget, even if our widget is a GTK button. So GTK-SpinButton, SpinButton. Okay, and the next two will be the minimum will be 10 and the maximum will be 90. Now let's compile it and run it and see what happens. As you can see, it is set to 10 and I go now up and it's set to 90. So basically this is what this function does: restrict our spin button to not go below 10 or over 90. Sorry. Okay, the next one is we are setting the digits. This means this function says it's a function returns void, takes 2 parameters. Our parameters are, the first one is the spin button, the second are the digits. So says set the precision to be displayed by spin button up to 20 digits. Somehow I thought that it's about 31. I think I was wrong. Anyway, it is up to 20 digit precision is allowed. So this means parameters are our GTK-SpinButton. The second one is those digits, which says the number of digits after the decimal point to be displayed for the spin button value. What this means, let's see. Let us compile the program again the way it is now and see what happens. As you can see, we have no digits here, so this means we have only 10. Okay, but if you need digits to have after, then you call this function, you pass the GTK-SpinButton, which is casted, and then you set digits. How many? Let's say 3. Now if I compile and run the program, you will see that our number, you see, has also 3 digits more. So this is for a better accuracy or better precision, where maybe you need something like 10 and then 990, which is not the same thing like 11, isn't it? Okay, you know that. Okay, so that being said, this does this thing. Okay, I set it to 2 now. Let's move to the next function, which is GTK-SpinButton set increments. What does this function? Says it is a function which also returns void, takes 3 parameters. The first one is the spin button, and the second and the third one, it is double step and page. Double step and double page, G-double. So this means set the step and page increments for the spin button. This affects how quickly the value change when the spin button arrows are activated. So just to be clear, we already learned about step increment and page increment when we are talking about the GTK adjustment. So at this point you should know what step increment and page increment means. Okay, so that being said, the first is the GTK spin button, and the last ones are the increment applied for button press 1 and for button press 2. This is very important. When you use the page, and you hit the for button to press. Let's see. Let's call this function. Let's set this one to 0 because we don't need it anymore. And then I'm going to copy this part also here. So the first one is the button, the second one is step, and the last one is the page. So I'm going to set this time the page should be, the step should be 2 and the page should be 10. And then of course I will set the button, it's lower to be 500, the upper. Now let's see what happens. Okay, we have a problem. It says GTK-SpinButton new with range access step failed. Fail. Container. Okay, where's the problem? Set increment. Okay. Yes. I think, I'm not sure. Why does this happen? Let me see again. 0. 0 text double. Now I think this function only works if we are creating our button, our SpinButton as new one with adjustment and not with the range. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean 110. Yes, it could be that I'm wrong. It could be that this function says GTK-SpinButton new assertion step is not equal to 0. Step is not equal to 0. Let me comment this part out a little bit so that why are not working? I mean, I'm not sure. It should work. Anyway, I think it has to do with adjustment. I'm not sure if it's like that or not. We will see. We'll see later when we are going to talk about adjustments. So I will leave this function. Now, GTK-SpinButton set numeric. This is an interesting function. I mean, it is somehow interesting. It says, watch. Sets the flag that if non-numeric text can be typed into the SpinButton. If you maybe find a way where you think you need a text inside of a SpinButton, and this happens because a SpinButton there is on a GTK entry, which is basically, it is an entry you already know, which has those two buttons. So basically I think I made something wrong here. I think SetRange min max 10. Why are you not working? I mean, it has to be at least 1. Okay, I thought I can let it 0. So basically it doesn't work if you let it 0. So even if I want to set later. Okay, so my bad, sorry guys. Before we move with the next function, let's go back a little bit here. So GTK-SpinButton increments, we'll set it to 2 this time, and for button 2 with 10. Okay, so basically of course, strange. Anyway, I'm not working with the range. I have to admit I don't use this function. I mean, even if it's so easy, I didn't use a function like this. I always use GTK-SpinButton new, and then I create an adjustment, and I was working with adjustment because it is much better for me. It was much better for me. Anyway, I see now where the problem is. So basically, when I create this button, it has to be its step already created. So if I hit now 0 here, let's go back. As you can see, if I put a step 0, then we get these crazy things which says GTK-SpinButton new with range assertion step is not equal to 0. okay, which failed, of course, is not equal to 0 because it is equal to 0. So basically this is the problem which I wasn't sure that I'm right. Now I know. So if you work with this function and you don't set its values, you should remember that at least the step should be 1 or not 0. Okay, good. So that being said, we have the SpinButton set increment set this time to 2 for step and 10 for page. Now I will compile and run the program. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and so on. And if I hit now button 2, it goes up to 100. Okay. And if I hit, let me put it again. So you have 3 buttons. You have the left click, which I use it now. You have the right click, which right click basically flies to the end of the spin button. Watch, I hit now the right click on plus, and now I hit the right click on minus. You see, 0, 100, 0. This is the fastest way to move from start to end. And of course you have the third button, which is your scroll mouse. If you push the scroll, then you can have these 10 which you set. You see, watch, 90, 80, 70 and so on. I just press in the scroll button. So basically this is what the second here the second argument here does. After you set it to some value, this means your button 2, I always use it as the button 3, but in the real world the button 3 is the scroll one. So the first one the first one is left click, the second one is your scroll, and the third one is your right click. So don't confuse them, because creates confusion. Maybe to me creates always confusion, because I always used to say left click, right click, so 1 and 2, but no, left click, button 1 is left click, button 2 is middle click, scroll click, and button 3 it is the right click. So that you know that left click does as you can see updating with 2, middle click updates with 10, so we have now 8, now we have 18, 28, 38, 48, 58 and so on. And we have also button the right click, which flies to the upper value, which is 100, and if you go to minus and hit the right click again, then jumps back to 0, you see. So just remember, and you will find, so you understand what this function does. Okay, next move, let's see, next function. Next function, like I said, we are going to talk about this GTKSpinButton set numeric. Let's go back. Where's the function here? I already told you, and I will tell you again. When you create a spin button which derives and even hits the entry class, you should understand that that entry button has an entry field and those 2 buttons. So basically all these 3 things here creates a spin button, an entry and 2 buttons. So having an entry means, of course, that you can type something. So now, of course, when you are working with GTKSpinButton new with range, you cannot type nothing here, which I find it a good thing. But this does not happen with GTKSpinButton new, where you are creating a button with an adjustment. There you will see that you can type text also here instead of numbers. So what I'm talking here, it is, let's see first what the function says. GTKSpinButton set numeric takes 2 parameters. The first one is the spin button, and the second one is the Boolean numeric, which means sets the flag that determines if non-numeric text can be typed into the spin button. Well, let's see, the parameter has the GTKSpinButton, we already know, and the numeric says flag indicating if only numeric entry is allowed. As you can already saw, when we run the program, I'll run again, I cannot type anything, only numbers. That being said, because the flag is not set. Now let us set this flag. Okay, so let me copy this part here, copy. So we have our first parameter as our button, the second is a Boolean, true, false. So let's set it to false. Okay, false. Run the program, and as you can see, I can type something. I can type some letters, if you want to call them a text, whatever. I can type anything I want. Hello, you see, I can type everything. So this means this makes or does this function, let you type some text inside of GTKSpinButton entry. As you can see, defaults to true, like here now when you create your SpinButton use range. So this means when I run the program now, it will be the same, like without calling the function. I cannot type nothing, but when you set it to false, it lets you to create some text. Please leave a comment if you find this thing useful, because I try to think about how and when do I need to type a text inside of a GTK SpinButton widget, because I'm not sure, but it's there. You saw, you know that you can use it, you know that if it is there you can deactivate it. So let's move on, which will be the last function for this video. GTKSpinButton set wrap. Wow, this is a very interesting thing. The wrapping things are very interesting when it comes to GTKSpinButton. So let me show you something. Watch, I'm going up. It's too much, we don't need so much. Let's put 1 here and only 10, increment of only 10, which is also fine, because if not we are going to need a lot of other things. 0 1 0 1 0 1. Okay, watch, I'm going up. As you can see, I can go to 10 and then nothing happens. I go back, and as you can see, I go to 0 and then nothing happens. Well, how about if you want that your SpinButton, once that reaches 0, to go back to 10? Or maybe if your button reaches 10, you want to that your SpinButton goes back to 0 without that you go by pressing the minus button. How will you do that? Well, there is a function, this function, GTKSpinButton set wrap. Let's see. Let's go back, let's search the function. Where is it? There's the function, and says, watch, it is a function which takes two parameters. The first one is our SpinButton, the second one is the wrap boolean, if it's true or false. So this means sets the flag that determines if a SpinButton value wraps around the opposite limit when the upper or lower limit of the range is exceeds. Okay, it is quite clear, but maybe it's not that clear, but I'm sure that you understood what I told you, and now I'm showing what I was talking about, those values. Now the first one is our GTK SpinButton, the wrap. It is a flag indicating if wrapping behavior is performed. Now let's perform this behavior. So let's call this function, and now after we call this function, as you already know, we need first parameter our SpinButton, the second one our Boolean, I set it to true, and now as you can see, our minus button is not deactivated anymore. Watch again. Let me comment this part. I'm running the program now. You see, it is deactivated. I cannot click it. It's gone. It's dead. It's out. This one not. This one you can use it, but this one not. Why? Well, because you reached the lowest value which you set it, which was 0. But when you said GtkSpinButton set wrap or wrap to true, this means I'm just told to my GtkSpinButton widget to let me go more down or more up than 0, and by doing this, basically, please let me go from 0 to which is the upper value, and from upper value to which is the lower value. Let's see, let's go up. We go up to 10, and now watch, you see, the plus button is still there. I will hit the plus button, bang, it jumps to 0. Of course it jumps to 0. So me, I can play all the time, you see. I can click all up the way this button, and it will do the same thing all the time. The same thing happens if you go back. Watch. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 10, 9. You see, 2, 1, 0, and so on. You see. So basically, this is what your GtkSpinButton wrap set wrap function does. I will put it back to false because I don't want to have it to default to true, that I can wrap my values. So I will let it to false so that I cannot go more than 0 and less than 0 or more than 10. And basically now we know what these things are doing. We know what this function does, how we need to call them, what can we create with these functions we already saw. So basically those 5 functions here are very useful, and these functions are useful to manipulate your GtkSpinButton, which with range which you basically you are creating. Anyway, that's not all. We have a lot of functions which we don't need to talk about them. Get digit, get increments, get numeric, get range, get snap tick. We're going to talk about this. Get volume, get wrap, because of course you know what this means. Calling this function will set if this function which SpinButton get wrap our SpinButton, it's equal to 1. We'll say gprint true, else gprint false. So basically this is just an example which you already know. I don't want to explain you about getters. You only need to understand the setter. You see, it says false. Of course it's false, because I cannot use it. It is set to false. Don't mess these things. I was asking if GtkSpinButton get wrap is set to true, not if it's set to false. Because if I say it's equal to false or 0, of course it defaults to true this time. Say it prints true because it's set to false. Okay, so that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, leave a comment, and until next time, share with your friends and neighbors. Let them know that someone, or at least me, I'm giving some time for this beautiful library, because as you probably already noticed, you don't find too much information on YouTube or on the internet, or at least not so in the way or in the manner how I'm trying to explain it. I mean, I'm trying to explain not the language itself. I don't want to learn you to create program. I want to show you how you can create those programs for yourself. So basically, after you go with me through the documentation, I'm 100% sure that you don't need someone to show you how to create a program, because you already know it. You don't need to know exactly what you need to do. You just need to read the documentation once that you see it. If you follow my videos, you will notice that you understand from day to day better the documentation, and it will be just a piece of cake for you. But until then, we have a long journey. As you already noticed, we're talking only about some widgets, not so many, isn't it? Entry, I know, buttons, 3 buttons, adjustment, and now we are talking about spin button. So basically we didn't talk about too many widgets, but we learned so much information together, which you find it hard on internet. And of course people, I not understand why they don't write books anymore, at least not about this library, which is a very powerful library. Just think about how you can work with this powerful library together with another libraries, and you will see later how powerful application you can create with this library, not just with this one itself, but together with another a lot of other graphic libraries for creating very interesting applications. Okay, again, that being said, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, share with your friends, because I hope I get those 1,000 subscribers. I'm curious if my time worth. Anyway, we'll see. If I get those subscribers, probably I will continue until end. I will make those videos, I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, I'm still motivated, and I'm still like it what I'm doing now, and I will proceed with these videos as much as I consider that I should do it. I hope we have enough people interested in this library. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, see you guys.